Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is another speed build, surprise surprise, but it's actually one that I made quite a while ago now because I've had a few days off. Obviously everyone knows that I've been ill and I went away for the weekend, so I'm making this video quite late, but it's a 3-story house. Well, it's a 2-story house with a basement apartment. So this is actually based on a house that a family member of mine used to live in, and that was by the coast. It was in a city in the UK on the coast, and this style of property is fairly common for city houses. So I thought I'd make this. On the day that I sat down and built this, I actually wanted to do the Sparked challenge, which was on Golden Years. So you were tasked to make a house for an elder sim who had a really fun or quirky hobby that they like to do, and to build the house around that. And I brainstormed all day for what I wanted to do, the build. I wanted to be really creative with roofing, and I tried everything. I started again. I must have bulldozed my lot about 7 times. I then moved lots and just nothing was coming at all. I didn't like any of it and it just all looked absolute rubbish and not how I wanted. So I thought I'd go back to what I knew and do something that I could visualize in my head as I wanted. So this is it's not a recreation in any means, it's just the style of a house that I've been to before and that I know because it was in my family. And yeah, it's this sort of city build where you have an apartment that's underneath a house, and I thought it was another way that I could play around with the lighting as well in The Sims now that I've got these better graphics. So you've just seen me try and put in skylights. That didn't bring in much light into the basement as much as I wanted, so it was only until I started putting in windows in these open air bits on the outside that I actually managed to get enough light into the basement for it to look good. So that's what I did. I also used the Spa-Day windows because they're frosted glass, so it sort of makes it look like it's got a bit of privacy to it that you wouldn't be able to see in completely. But where the bathroom has a window in, I made sure that you wouldn't be able to see the toilet or the shower, so there was a bit of privacy there, even though you did have a window that people on the street could maybe look into. But obviously in The Sims that doesn't matter too much, but I much more base my houses on what's real life and what would work in real life rather than in The Sims world. Though there are a few things that I've changed. So the windows, because this would usually be a terrace house, you wouldn't really get windows on the sides, but that doesn't look very good in The Sims, so I decided that I'd put some in. So it's got more windows than you would have in real life, but that just makes it look good in the game. I also decided to make this on the smallest lot available, so that's a 20 by 15 tile lot, and there are places in Newcrest and Bridlington Bay, the Pets World, and probably a few others that use a 20 by 15 lot. So it's one for that. It would look really good if you sort of doubled it up, but we don't have the capability of making terrace houses that fit into a world in the Sims, so I thought I'd just make it on the smallest lot and then make it look like a detached house, even though in real life it wouldn't be, because there would be no necessity for it to be. These houses, the gardens are really quite small, so with the small lot size I didn't have much to work with, but I think that is really in keeping with what it would look like anyway. So I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out. I'm just making the lower apartment, and I was just trying to work out where I wanted all of the different bits to go. As I was doing this, I'd completely forgot to put in a bathroom, so I have to change the whole layout to make sure that I've got space for that, and the windows as well, so that the bathroom has a nice window into it. I tried to put as much light in as I could in the basement. You probably will still need lights all the time just to make it as airy as possible. So for gameplay, this house could work really well if you have the university pack, because that allowed you to put in roommates into a house. So they're non-player Sims that live with you, and they can host house parties and have their girlfriends or boyfriends round. You can interact with them like normal Sims, but you don't get to you don't get to control them in any way. So with me, I've never been able to get that working. It's a glitch that the Sims team either don't know about or think they fixed or something with the university pack, whereby where you ask for roommates to look around your house, it doesn't happen. So you've got to manually put roommates in, and that's a really big faff as well, because they can't be in any house. You've got to be friends with them. They have to be in your manage worlds category and not in a lot, and it's really frustrating. But it would be really fun if your Sims university does work and the roommates work properly, then you could set the locks for the doors so that they only go to that downstairs apartment, and that could be a really nice way to sort of make the house look full, even if you don't want to play with 8 Sims in your house or 6 or something. I know that I find even playing with, I think I've got 6 at the moment, and that is just a lot of the time way too much, because I never know what each Sim's doing at the right time, and I always want to control everything sort of down to the letter, but so it does get a bit much with 6. So if you want any more than that, or you're like me and you don't want too many, then having roommates is a really good function, and this house is sort of perfect for it with that downstairs apartment. And that's what it's used in real life. So if you have bought the whole building, you might rent out the bottom apartment, and that's a good way to earn money, and it's much cheaper usually. So the bottom apartment, the basement, is usually much smaller and it's much cheaper, and obviously it doesn't have as much light, so it's not as desirable. So that's really good for people that are just starting out in the city, usually young couples or singles or anything, and that's what they might live in when they move to London or Brighton or Manchester or whatever for the first time. That's these are the sort of places they live in. So I went on that and I put most of the worst appliances in, so the cheapest fridges and microwaves, and to really show that it wasn't as fancy as the house above and it would be much cheaper. So that's sort of a game aspect that you could play if you wanted, or maybe you've got a teen sim or a sim that's just gone up to a young adult and they might want to have their own space and sort of make their own family down there, but you don't want to have them move out so that you can't control them as much. So there's lots of ways to play it, and in real life as well there's lots of ways that people do it. So you might have a landlord that doesn't live in the property at all and he rents out both the house and the apartment, or like my family did it, they had access to everything and they just had their daughter live with them and her new husband. So I quite like the possibilities of it. There's loads of different ways. It's something, as I'm playing a large legacy with lots of different families, it's probably something that I would use, especially as I play in Bridlington Bay. There is a 20 by 15 lot there, so I might be putting it in my game, but I hope you like it. It's with the speed build, it's coming along nicely now, so I've made the basement really quite light and airy. It's got everything you need but really compact. So you've got an entrance space, an open kitchen and dining room, you've got a computer there for working, and then it's a 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom little apartment. It's not very common, but I thought I would put access to the garden. So usually just the house would have the garden in real life, but I thought that it would be quite nice, and it also gives more opportunity for me to bring light into the basement, because you had the windows for that back staircase into the garden. They then allowed the light into the kitchen and the bedroom. So I thought that worked quite nicely, and it means that your Sims can go everywhere. If you didn't want your roommates to go to use the garden upstairs, then you would just lock that door so they couldn't get out from that way, and then the garden would just service the house upstairs. So this is the basement coming together quite nicely now. I'm just furnishing the bedroom. For most of the house, I didn't want to wallpaper for ages, because I think I hadn't been very creative that day, and obviously loads of my builds had failed with the Spark Challenge, so I had no idea what sort of style I was going for. So I put in quite a lot of modern furniture. I've made it light and bright, but the wallpaper, especially upstairs, I didn't know what I was going for ages, so I left it to the last minute. And I've been building so much recently that I'm getting really bored of the paintings in the game, and that's probably because I don't have enough stuff packs and game packs. But a tip that I actually got off Kate Emerald and her YouTube videos was that there's this creator called, I think, Takisis. You'll see it on the speed build there. I can link them down below. But they have made hundreds and probably thousands of paintings in the Sims 4 gallery. So it's all done by reference. I'm not sure how they make them. But you can go there. There are Star Wars ones. There are flowers. There's really whatever you want. Disney as well, that you can put on the walls, and they're not CC, they're just made sort of by Sims but from real life reference images, and there are some beautiful ones. So I added those 3 flowers, but the only thing with that is that I found on my previous laptop that had so much lag, those are quite large files, so they make the whole house on the gallery quite a large file size, so like 4 megabytes or something, which can sometimes lag your computer. So if you are experiencing that, if you do want to play this house, the first things you should take out would be those pictures. And it's a really annoying feature that does slow down a house, because it can make a house look so beautiful and so much more realistic. So that would be my one advice, is remove those and exchange those for normal in-game paintings if you are experiencing any problems. And I'm just going up to the ground floor. So this is, I think I've gone for all open plan, living, dining, study. It's really quite a large house considering how small the lot size is. It's quite large, but I went for fairly traditional and still quite bright and open, but traditional furnishings, a light kitchen but with lots of storage space, and I didn't want to clutter it up too much just because it is so small, but it's got everything that a small family could need. As always, this house is fairly expensive. At the moment it seems like I'm completely incapable of making a cheap build. It's probably something that I should work on, and I might task myself to do maybe a starter home or a fairly cheap home, sort of 40,000 simoleons, because if you are playing with any legacies or doing any challenges, or if you don't want to play with cheats at all, then these houses at the moment are really expensive for you to download. So this one I think is about 130,000 simoleons, and I've never quite understood how the moving costs work, because it doesn't seem that the actual gallery cost or what money you think you have when you end up moving it, you always seem to have less. So I struggle with that a lot in games. So this is quite an expensive house. It will probably do about maybe 7 or 8 Sims. So it's not small, but obviously it is a 15 by 20 lot size. So it's got a very small footprint, but it's got a lot of rooms and a lot of depth to it. And I was pretty pleased, even with the small lot size, how large I managed to make the rooms. So it's not even a master bathroom, the family bathroom. For the size that it is, or for the house that this is, it's an absolutely huge bathroom. And I really liked the wallpaper that I chose with those tiles and how it was sort of a bit warm as well. And this one's a lot cooler. I end up changing it all so it's black and white themed, but I do put a window in, so I do like the way it turns out. And with that vintage glamour rug that I'm just popping in now, I think that worked really well to be quite subtle but also give the flooring a bit of interest. And I'm using those Spa Day floors that I love. I really don't know how I lived furnishing bathrooms without the Spa Day pack. I'm so glad that I got it a few months ago, because it's exactly what I would create a bathroom to be, with tiles all throughout, but large tiles. It's what I've got in my bathroom at the moment and what we installed in a house that I lived in before, so I love that style. And I'm now onto the kids' bedroom. I thought with 3 bedrooms I should really put one as a child's bedroom, so I've made it a toddler and kids one, and you can put a bassinet in there. It took me absolutely ages to furnish and to work out where I wanted everything, because it's not a large room, but I wanted to put as much in as I could so that the children would have everything they needed. So I ended up going for a desk by the windows and this dresser. I wanted to put in one of those toy boxes, but it didn't fit, so I thought that I'd put all of the toys on top of the dresser and that would sort of suffice. And then they've got the Blarfy and a doctor's kit, which is really cute. I love those animations and everything they need. And then I did the usual of putting, I think I put some gradient wallpaper in, got some really fun stuff with that, and then just cluttered it all up, made it look really lived in. I do have to admit that I slightly missed the mark on this house because I don't think I did enough checks once I'd thought I'd finished. I posted it on the gallery, and then afterwards, I think when I was editing these videos, I realised I hadn't changed most of the lights around the place. So they are on the gallery, they are still these saucer lights. I did go in and change them before I did a tour, which we'll come to at the end of the video, but I'm not sure what was going through my head why I forgot them. I forgot some curtains as well upstairs. I purposefully didn't put the curtains downstairs because it was looking so modern and sleek. I didn't really want to interrupt that, and I don't really like the curtains in the game. They don't really go with the modern aesthetic, so I thought I'd leave those out. And here I was really struggling with how large the end bedside tables are. None of them come in sort of half sizes, and if you size them down, you then can't put anything nicely on top. And I'd struggled with that downstairs because I didn't want such a large coffee table. So I ended up going for these, and then in the second or third bedroom that I furnish, I did something completely different. So I like how the game isn't perfect because it does make you come up with new ways to do things. It's obviously frustrating, and a lot of people get annoyed with things that they wish were in the game that aren't, but it for me, who's not very creative, it does really help me to come out of my comfort zone to furnish something to get at how I want it to look. But I thought I'd leave everything quite subtle. Here's me adding windows. So I thought that I didn't want so many paintings on, so I just went for some small windows and then put these. They're just so old-fashioned. They go slightly with the wallpaper, but it's not really what I wanted. I would have had some much more modern ones, but that's what we've got, and that's the packs that I've got. So the expansion packs such as Seasons and Cats and Dogs, they do have quite a dated sort of vibe, or maybe the 1980s or 90s. I'm not very good with decades, but something like that, where they are quite dated. And for some things, such as if you're making a farmhouse or a wood house or something, they look really, really good. But a townhouse, it can be harder to work with what I have in the game. I finally got around to wallpapering, and I thought that this warm colour actually worked really well with the floorboards. So I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out, but it took me ages to decide. Once I did start looking into it, I got there pretty quickly, but it was just something that I was dreading doing. And here's me working on the third bedroom. I thought that this could probably be a teen's bedroom. Obviously, when they're no longer a child, they don't want the blues and the drawings on the walls and the posters probably. So I thought that this could be a teen's bedroom. As I was struggling with the bedside tables before, I thought I'd do these shelves, and it's not something that I've really looked into before or done, but I thought it worked pretty well. I did try and get some cabinets to go underneath it, but they were too wide, so it didn't look good. But I thought that it's quite realistic. It sort of made a large windowsill, and then I used this Vintage Glamour wallpaper, which I thought that it just went with the room and the colours and the shelf colours, the woods. So I'm probably never ever going to use that wallpaper again, but I thought maybe for this room it sort of worked. If you hate it, just change it. And I probably won't be using it again. But where it works, you've got to do it, because there are so many items in this game that I just don't use because I don't build in that style, or I don't like them, or I can never find a use for them. So when I do, I really like to incorporate them, because otherwise you're just using the same things and your houses get so samey, and that's really what I'm trying to avoid. So this is my 4th video on my channel, and I've made 3 houses for it, and each of them you'll probably realise are so different, because I only started building I think this year, probably when lockdown hit. I'd always just downloaded amazing builds off the gallery and maybe done a couple myself, but nothing spectacular. So I'm still really getting to grips with building. I feel like I've got a lot of the tricks now, but I just haven't done many things. So I haven't made many starter homes, haven't done many build challenges. So there are a lot of firsts, and that to me is really exciting. So when I keep saying that, oh, I've never done this before or that, I'm sorry, but it's sadly true, because I really haven't built for very long. University took up way too much of my time. But on university, actually, over the weekend, I managed to go back. I had to hand in some things that I'd still got from the department for my dissertation, so I handed those back. I saw some of my friends that were starting the next school year, and it was actually a lovely escape. I think I've mentioned before, I've been having a bit of a crisis because I'm not at university, I'm not in education this year, so I thought it was actually really good for me to go back and get to have that normality of going away for the weekend, or it usually would have been term, but I'll take what I can get at this rate. And it's just nice to be able to see people now. So we went out for dinners and to the bars, even though they closed at 10 p.m. But yeah, it was just a lovely weekend, a lovely reset. So I'm back. I didn't take my laptop or anything with me. I just hung out with people and had a great time and did the jobs that I needed to do. So as soon as I came back, I was back to the laptop, back to video editing and everything. So it's been really, really nice for me. And luckily I still have friends out there that haven't finished uni, so I will be able to go back a bit, because I don't think I could have a clean break. I wouldn't say that university was even the best years of my life. I think I had such amazing school friends. So it wasn't that sort of amazing thing that you might see in movies, but it was just sort of a sense of belonging, and you had some structure. So I'm missing that at the moment, but we'll see. I've got job interviews to do. I've got, I think, one to do this weekend for a job, and I've got lots of applications to do. So I'm very, very busy. And I'm starting YouTubing and all of this sort of stuff, and I've got so many hobbies and working, and there's a lot to do, but it was really nice for me to get away for the weekend. Yet again, I have been rambling, but we've pretty much finished the house now, so I'm just working on the garden. As I said, it was a really small thing. I didn't do a pool or anything like that, just a really compact little space that I tried to make pretty with a few bushes and plants. And now we're into the tour. So this is the finished product. It's more finished than the one on the gallery, which I'm really frustrated about, but so I'm sorry, those lights and things will be the first things you'll have to change. But going into a nice modern open plan living area, we've got the dormer windows at the front, which is quite in keeping with what the house would look like in real life. I also used it's not a cheat, but just a bit of alt placing to put things on the windowsills. And that's a little thing that I really like to do to make the house look a bit more normal and what you would have. So I've put plants there and a few candles. And then this is the master bedroom. It's nice and bright and airy, but not too modern, and a very, very modern bathroom. So they don't quite fit together, but I did like it. And then we've got the toddler and kids room. So it's got, as I said, everything they need. I've put some windows in there and curtains, and then we've got the family bathroom. I wish I had a bathroom like this in my house. It's so spacious, and you've got everything you need in there, and looks really lovely. And this is, I thought, a teens room. So we've got the dresser and then a few clothes for their big collection, and they've got some study books on there. Don't mind the houses to the left. Those are all of my failed Spark Challenge attempts. As I said, I didn't do very well. And here's the really compact outdoor space. So it's just got somewhere for you to eat. If you had a bit more money, you could probably put a barbecue down there. And then I've just fast forward to the downstairs. Because of this being a basement, I couldn't tab mode it in the same way. So I had to change the angles. But you've got my sim self at the computer, which is very realistic. A tiny little living room area. You've got the only bathroom, and then this kitchen. So it's quite dark in there with all the greys, but nice and modern and nothing too busy. And obviously, as I said, it doesn't have the fanciest appliances. Then you've just got this really bright room. It's got some natural light in there and this blue colour, which I thought made it look really airy, and the mirrors as well to make it look much larger than it is. And that's the finished thing. So thank you so much for watching. Please give a like and subscribe and comment down below. Also, if you want to go follow my gallery to see my builds before they come up here, I'd absolutely love that. So thank you very much, and I will see you next time.